Welcome to the SaaS Revolution Show, a podcast by SaaStock. Here we interview SaaS founders from around the world who've been there and done that, as they share the ins and outs of how they built their businesses, their operations, their path to securing investment, and more. Our mission with the podcast is to help you, the founder, learn how to scale your SaaS, maintain your well-being, and navigate the complexities of this ever-changing industry. I'm your host, Alex Theuma, and together we'll explore the good, the bad, and the ugly in the journey to SaaS success. Welcome back to the SaaS Revolution Show. I am your host, Alex Theuma, CEO and founder of SaaStock, also general partner of Back Future Ventures, and really delighted to be joined today by long-term friend, also LP in Back Future, if I'm allowed to say.
Yeah.
And she is the CEO of Go Nimbly, also the host of This Week in SaaS. I almost said This Week in Startups, but corrected myself. Maybe some will know her as the Barbara Walters of SaaS or soon as well. I do read your posts, Jen.
Thank you.
But welcome, Jen Igartua, CEO and co-founder at Go Nimbly.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. What an intro. I'll be Barbara Walters.
Yeah.
Actually, you can call me Barbara for this episode.
Okay, Barbara. We may confuse people when they see Jen Igartua, and I keep calling you Barbara, and they're like, "What is he smoking over here?" But I'm not smoking anything. But lovely to see you. Are you in sunny Brooklyn today?
I'm in Brooklyn. I'm in a part of Brooklyn called Bushwick, which is like the very cliche. When you think of Brooklyn, it's kind of the cliche. Everybody here has a weird outfit and weird hair, and they're all in a polycule and, smoking weed. And that's a little bit about Bushwick.
The hipster side.
100%.
Yeah. And so we have, I mean, it's probably nowhere near as good, but where I live, there's a town called Margate, and everybody there, and sorry to those people, I'm not sure anybody's listening from Margate or runs a SaaS business, but it seems that they care more about how they look than anything else, and which is not a bad thing, but it's such an extravagant way. Like if I go to the pub there, I feel uncomfortable because I'm in my black t-shirt and jeans, and so I don't know. I admire them, but I also like to feel comfortable in the pub when I'm having a pint.
Totally. No, 50% of people in my neighborhood are probably DJs.
Right. Also not a bad thing. We don't hate DJs or people that dress
DJs.
well. It's just me and
we don't want to date them.
Exactly. Me and Jen are just like boringly dressed. We're not boringly dressed,
right.
but we're kind of, we know our market. But Jen, so good to see you. First time guest on the podcast. Been doing this for 10 years and probably known you half that time or more.
It's about time.
Yeah. And look, I always start, we assume that the audience doesn't know you, although you're building up somewhat of a profile and a following as the host of This Week in SaaS, which I think is going quite well, and we want to dive into that. But for those that don't know you, who is Jen Igartua?
Yeah. So I am more than just professionally, but I'll start there. I started off my career at a company called Blue Wolf. And if anybody's been in the space for a while, they were Salesforce's biggest partner. So the lore is that Benioff called Eric Barrage, who was our CEO, and said, "Hey, you got to start a services business because this is blowing up." And I was hired specifically to be part of their marketing automation business. And what was sometimes a frustrating experience, which was I was surrounded by people very focused on Salesforce and the sales experience, and I was focused on top of funnel, turned out to be a really big gift, because it meant that I had that crash course of what it looked like to break down silos, to work within teams, to really obsess over the integration and data flow of these tools. And that's what led us to start, it's me and a couple of ex-Blue Wolfers, to start Go Nimbly. We didn't have the tag for RevOps, right? So we're a RevOps agency, but we didn't have that word. So instead we called it Unify the Business Stack. And again, the whole premise of all this is your internal silos and your internal bullshit's getting in the way of a great customer experience. It's losing you money. And we're very focused on that kind of process and tech. I'm very lucky. I don't think I've ever said this on a public forum. So Alex, you get the inside scoop. I started the business. My first customer ever was Twilio.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still with us today, really lovely, but I had no idea who they were. I've been embarrassed to say that at this point. Whatever, it's been 10 years. No one's gonna get mad, but I got a phone call and I was like, hey, they need someone for their Eloqua to Salesforce integration. I was kind of hot in that space, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess they do text messaging. Whatever, I'll take it. And that's how we started Go Nimbly. I didn't realize they were this kind of rocket ship and unicorn that I built a business on top of. Our second customer was somebody that left Twilio and went to Zendesk. So like I started off with these incredible logos and these incredible companies. Now I know who they are.
Yep.
And they're an amazing customer. But the bread and butter of the work that we do are these kind of mid-market enterprise level SaaS companies. And how do we create all of the processes and tooling for their go-to-market team?
That's not, if you think that, or if I think that wouldn't be enough, you also have a side business. Like you're running a pretty sizable business.
Yeah.
But you have time to have a second business. And what is that? Because it is quite fun.
Yeah, I run a company called Pillbox Games with like 4 other people. So as much as it's like side hustle, I pop in and out. 2 of my friends, actually, we grew it big enough they managed to quit their jobs and are working full time on that business. We sold over $500,000 of games last year. So it's a real business. And it started out as just, we made a game on Kickstarter. Our goal was 10K. It's a game called Side Effects, where you get an array of mental disorders and you have to be the first to treat yourself with drugs and therapy. Relatable. And it did really well. We had a goal of 10K. We got $80,000. And all of a sudden we were like, okay, I guess we make games now. So I've been doing that for over 5 years. And it's fascinating. And one of the things that's really interesting about it, we were really bad at it at first, but I'm learning a lot about B2C and applying it to B2B. And one of those things is we're throwing a conference this year, and I'm taking a lot of my experience at conventions, at game conventions. It's the same people that go. There are tons of nerds that go to these conventions that also work at SaaS companies that I meet there, and they show up different, and the vibe is different, and it feels good. And it's a kind of very similar, I think, to the ethos of SaaStock, which is like, how do you show up and allow people to relax and not posture and really be open about their problems and actually bring their full selves. So it's been really interesting to apply that to kind of my day job.
You're doing a lot there. And if that wasn't also enough, but I guess it also ties in its marketing. You're hosting This Week in SaaS, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, what a fun week to do it too.
Yeah. There is actually SaaS is not boring. There is lots of stuff going on, including corporate espionage. What is do you have a take on that? I think you're going to be covering that without, this will probably go out after sort of this post, but I guess for people sort of listening, you may or may not be aware that there is some corporate espionage and legal issues going on between Deal and Rippling. And actually, I think you were the first person to, certainly that I saw, that broke the news, and then I Googled it, and then I started reading the articles, but it's getting spicy.
Yeah, it is. I didn't find the news. I saw someone else posting and I posted it. But yeah, so on This Week in SaaS, we basically find one topic that, honestly, it's just like something that piques my interest, and try to do like a la Jon Stewart, a little shtick. So I'm recording the one about Deal and Rippling today. So I've been doing my research, and I got in touch. Rippling did give me, like, they just basically have their talking points. It's just everything that's in the lawsuit. And I read all 48 pages of that lawsuit. Wow. It is, print it out and read it. It is so fun. And I reached out to Deal. Of course, I got nothing. But I did reach out to a bunch of Deal ex-employees, and boy, are people talking. Like, it does seem, obviously, if you're at the top levels doing things like corporate espionage, it's going to seep into your culture in other places. So it's not surprising. If anybody wants the tea, just go on Reddit. The Reddit boards are amazing.
Wow.
But in short, what happened is there was an employee at Rippling. His initials are DS. I call him D's. And he had been working there for a while, like a year. And then the last 4 months, since like November 1st, his like usage was completely different. Like, it's very, very funny to me that this person did it. Rippling literally makes the technology that tracks your laptop usage. So it's like the worst company to spy on. And a really, really fun detail is this individual's #1 like search term before they caught him, or like before he started spying, was the dogs channel on Slack.
Right.
And then after, it was like Deal competitive cycles. And it's just, I mean, I find that very endearing. He's a dog person, and he got corrupted. And money talks. I'm sure you got a bunch of money. And, I canceled my Netflix because I don't need it. I got LinkedIn.
Wow. Yeah. No, it's amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to watching that and your take on it, and also just following how that goes, and look, I mean,
Yeah.
you're doing it, so we don't need to like do a
Yeah.
whole podcast on that. But so
Yeah.
if anyone wants to get hot takes on the spicy world of SaaS, follow Jen on, you mostly post these on LinkedIn,
Yeah, I
right?
just
That's
post
the,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, I post them on YouTube, but they get like 40 views. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
more on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn's the place. But Jen, I was recently, I mean, I guess kind of like what Go Nimbly is now, and a lot of the ways that you help other SaaS businesses
Yeah.
of a, mid-size kind of and above is around like GTM efficiency, right?
Yep.
And recently, actually, you were the catalyst for me to come over to New York to attend a dinner that you hosted together with Clay and Chili Piper, and I think I don't know if I don't think I was the only founder there, to be fair, but it was a lot of like RevOps folks, right?
Totally.
And a lot of the conversation around dinner is like all the amazing, interesting ways that people are using like great technologies to be more GTM efficient and grow their SaaS businesses. And given that's your area of expertise, and I think also our audience, they like maybe not a huge amount will be kind of like mid-sized, but there will be some.
Sure.
But are really interested in this topic, and people are using tools like Clay and Apollo and others and so on. There's so many now that I'm just constantly finding new tools every day. But would love, I guess, kind of your take on like what is GTM efficiency, like deficiency, like how do you help companies? What are you seeing? And like with your like client base, but of what you can share of the interesting ways that people are using, stuff to, really kind of grow their SaaS companies today.
Yeah, and this is part of a really big shift. I'd say it's changed me in the last 3 years. Definitely part of the macroeconomic shift. Money got expensive. So we were no longer just being like, I'm just going to triple my sales team and that's fine.
Yeah.
We used to really not care about the seller experience. It was like not a thing that was brought up. It was basically, well, okay, we need to double revenue. I'll just hire X number more AEs, pump them in. Let's just get them making more calls, booking more meetings, closing more deals, and we're good to go. And obviously money got expensive. So now we're thinking, okay, how do I do this much more efficiently? How do I do this profitably? But then there's a second shift also that happened during that time. We were bombarding, prospects with a bazillion emails. And frankly, they had buying power. Right now, they don't all have buying power. It's going all the way up to the CFO. The deals are getting much harder. And also we got bombarded with so much messaging that at this point, I don't know about you, but I am amazed how quickly I delete emails. And I don't miss any. I'm just like, whatever, this all looks like spam, delete, 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 delete. And so we're working with these two different shifts. When buying is harder, the customer is expecting a much more unique experience. They're taking way less meetings. And then on top of that, we're getting pressure to do it more efficiently. So all of our work right now is really very focused on how do we increase carry capacity for our reps? How do we get them selling more? How do we remove all the bullshit that they have to do so that they can focus on more human moments? And this is a silly way of saying it, but we're getting back to selling on the golf course. We're getting back to in person. People want to be having meaningful interactions with the people that they're buying from, and it's becoming a much more strategic sale, even at low ACV values. So I guess all of that together is bringing a focus for operators to be really thinking about, okay, how do I streamline? And not only sellers, it's also at the every go-to-market, it's at the CS level, it's at the SDR level, but really very focused on creating that efficiency across their workflow.
So how would then a company go about doing that so that their
Yeah.
sales reps are having these steak dinners and playing golf with their customers?
Yeah.
But like, I would say on our side, and I think I can't remember if I mentioned before we were recording or after as we're recording now, but like, when we're not a SaaS company, SaaStock's not a SaaS company.
Yep.
I think everybody knows that, certainly those that are listening. But like we've got some, great sales people on our team, really great in person, but probably then struggling to get those meetings, in person, right? And a lot of the conversations are happening on, on email, or we're doing LinkedIn outreach. And it's kind of like, it feels like we're quite analog compared to all these SaaS companies who've got all these amazing things they're doing, right? So, but if you are a SaaS company that is just like doing what SaaStock's doing and emailing and doing LinkedIn, like where's a good place to start? Like what we should be looking at?
So if I was coming into a company and just trying to figure out where the biggest gaps are, where are the biggest like areas for efficiency, I'll spill out some of the top ones, but the way I would try to find them, easiest way is go sit with your reps.
Mm-hmm.
Go do rep rides. I don't care if you've got 3 or 30, just go create half an hour. Make sure you have some people that have been there for a while, your biggest detractors, your new person, just to kind of understand, do you even have a process? You might think you do and then find everybody's doing it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Can you look at areas where it's like really painful for them? You'll be surprised how they pull lists, how they add people on LinkedIn, how they prepare for meetings. All of that as such an opportunity for automation. And we talk a lot about AI, and AI and automation at this point are being used interchangeably.
Mm-hmm.
But really, the goal is, a lot of the goal is automation, right? Like the biggest area you can get go to market efficiency is how do I reduce the amount of manual tasks that somebody has to do? Then there's the other promise of AI, which is just like, hey, can I increase the quality of what I do? Not only can I automate my research, but I can make my research better and deeper and have like better insights and translate it into like smarter thoughts. And so there's definitely that up leveling that AI can do. But tier one for me is, okay, great. How can I automate almost exactly what you're doing and then, make it more efficient? So with that, imagine that you've kind of sat with everybody and you've found some things. Likely what you're going to find is a lot of automation, like pre and post meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I prepare? It's a lot of time that people spend researching when they do it right, or they're not doing it and they're hopping on calls, kind of just winging it. So how do I make that a no-brainer? How we've done it for a lot of customers, just to lift the veil, because I know sometimes people just don't get to specifics.
Yeah.
You can integrate, say you use Salesforce, but HubSpot, whatever CRM, get a button that calls, you send information to an AI and it brings back a summary. The way that I've built it internally for me, I have a button that pushes information into a Clay table,
Mm-hmm.
and Clay literally looks like Excel, except each column does an action.
Mm-hmm.
And I send the LinkedIn and the email of the person and all the information I have. And I do things like go to LinkedIn, pull their last 3 posts, summarize them,
Mm-hmm.
go find out who the CEO's name is, because I've been on too many calls where they say Tom and I'm like, who the
Yeah.
fuck is Tom? So like get that information, go check their pricing page, tell me what their pricing models are, whatever is interesting to you. We work with Intercom, and they, for example, had a very niche requirement around, they want to go after online gambling because you can imagine there's a lot of tickets there.
Mm-hmm.
But Zoom Info isn't going to give you that category. They're just going to say gaming, which also includes video games and a bunch of other stuff. So go to the website, scrape it, and find the sub industry so that I have a better understanding. So it's like all of that sort of information, and then just push it right back to Salesforce. Yes, you want to put it in fields so that you can report on it, but I really encourage people a paragraph. It's so counterintuitive to when we started doing this. Like when I started my career, it was all about putting things in data points. This is more about, as a sales rep, how can I read something? My brain's going to get
Mm-hmm.
smarter and consume it better if I'm kind of just reading a summary of this person, their industry. Oh, another one I really love is, what are the last 3 companies they worked at, and were those companies customers? So like, have they actually worked with us possibly?
Yeah.
So a lot of the pre and post meeting is a huge area that you can automate.
You mentioned Clay.
Yeah.
There is something that you're using, and I think a
Yeah.
lot of SaaS companies are using. They're also one of the sponsors of RevFest.
Hell yeah.
I mentioned hopefully SaaStock at some point.
I did put in a good word. I think we should.
We are in discussions. It may or may not have closed by the time this airs, but fingers crossed it has, and people will notice that.
Yeah.
But thank you for that. But yeah, certainly at the dinner that we were at and that you hosted, and also Clay were a sponsor of. So,
Came up.
people were
Yeah.
talking about Clay, but I've been hearing this,
Wow.
hearing them in the SaaS community, like, I don't know, like for a good 18 months, and it's just kind of getting
Totally.
bigger and bigger and bigger. So there's one thing, like what is like within, let's say, the tech stack that you see the SaaS companies are using, or like like the
Yeah.
key types of tools. We don't necessarily have to name like the names, but we can also, because I think people will be interested. It may be helpful, but the things maybe even like whether it's what are people using, I guess, and then like at a starting point, because also all of these things come with a cost, and whilst we want to be efficient, it's like buy more software, and all of a sudden it's coming expensive. But like where to start, and what are the things that people are using?
Yeah, and I'll talk about a trend that I'm seeing, which has been really interesting, because there's 2 things happening that are opposite of each other. On one side, it's getting easier to build point solutions. And so we're seeing a lot more internal teams just saying, well, I can just build this myself. And it's not just GPTs. Like again, I think we get really, really focused on that, and people on LinkedIn will talk about, okay, I have like a bazillion agentic workflows. They don't. They're lying to you. Most people do not have a bunch of agentic workflows managing their business. But there's a lot of opportunity to build, and I think operators are looking to build more instead of buy. After, in 2020 to 2021, we bought every tool under the sun. It sat shelfware, and operators are frustrated. We also had to like manage a bunch of tech. So we had to learn it, and then we had to get other people to adopt it. And so I am seeing, as much as people are looking to build and bring on some of these point solutions and get excited about new kind of AI tools, at the same time, there's a really big push towards consolidation. The amount of consolidation project, I think across the board, all of our customers are looking to consolidate their tech stack, even if the tools are not as good. So I'll give kind of the big example that I think anybody listening to this is probably thinking is like Gong, Clary, Outreach, right? It used to need all three.
Yeah.
And now Gong is building Outreach as Engage, and they're building Forecast embedded in Clary. Are they as good? Honestly, a year ago, I probably would have told you, that's not ready, but it's ready. It's ready, and now you can do everything in a platform. And sure, it's not going to be at the same level as Outreach's features because they've had 10 years to build them, but you weren't using them.
Yeah.
And so now what you have is 2 less integrations, 2 less tools to enable the team on, 2 less tools myself to manage, less tickets, less issues. And so there's another big push, I think, to do like, obviously there's a budget win when you consolidate, but it's the win of managing less. So again, I see these like 2 trends of consolidate on these platforms, and that's typically going to be your CRM, your marketing automation, your they're called, what do they call it? Revenue intelligence technology, I think is the category, but your kind of Gong and Engage, that space. And then typically you need like a Snowflake or some kind of BI platform embedded. And then the rest of it around are sort of this kind of like point solution space where you can start to kind of get interesting. And, why Clay, I think, is getting a lot of hype is because Clay is not a specific feature. Clay is not like oh, hey, you need this for data enrichment. It is like I said, it's a fancy Excel sheet that lets you play and it lets you build, and you can integrate it with all these other things. So I don't know, there's kind of like HeyReach and Dripify and, oh my gosh, what's the Bethany is the SenseSpark,
Yeah.
right? Like all of these, tools, they kind of integrate with Clay, and you can use their credits to send so you don't have to get your own version. So I think that's why there's so much hype around Clay, is because for operators, especially nerdy ones, are like, I'm kind of getting to build without code. I'm getting to build all these automations, and you get to test out some of these other tools to see if they actually, work or do something for you.
What is your, I don't know, like favorite GTM efficient tool that is not Clay?
Ooh,
Like what is what is one that people should like be checking out that you're quite excited about?
I'm doing a ton. I mean, I mentioned Gong already.
Yeah.
But I'm doing so much with Gong transcripts. Okay. That's really fun. And you could do this, replace Gong with like any other transcript that you have, but basically sending that to AI, like, you could do ChatGPT, whatever it might be, and basically analyzing for certain things. So we have automations that look for like negative sentiment, etc. But I also look for projects that I know are meaty. Are they mentioning frustration with data integrity? Like, yeah, I want that. Are they mentioning PLG? We do a lot of work with PLG, bringing that through. Other tools that I'm like, that's more of like a process than a specific tool. I have my eye on Pocus.
Okay. Yeah.
What's funny is I was a hater of Pocus when it first came out, because I was like, oh, well, I don't want, and for anybody that knows, Pocus was focused very much in the PLG space, and it was supposed to be you integrate it with a bunch of data sources, and it elevates expansions, and it elevates kind of free trial to paid opportunities. And I love the concept, but I don't want my reps having to like go back and forth between tools, and now I got to go Pocus for my PQLs, but my MQLs are in Salesforce. And I was like, it's just not there yet. And now they're pivoting and really kind of consolidating and thinking about like, okay, I need to manage my entire lead list and my entire, both MQLs, PQLs, every QL you can think of. and they're embedding a ton of AI to do that kind of research and outbound and all of that in one platform. So that's one to watch. I think the problem with all of these is there's definitely overlap between tools.
Hmm.
So then you start to pay for, all features
Yeah.
in one when you only need a percentage. But yeah, I love their, what I think that their differentiator is, they kind of require you to integrate with product and third party intent and everything else. And so your ability to mix and match signals, I think, is very powerful.
Given there is this obvious trend around GTM efficiency that we're seeing
Yep.
building because of all these great tools, do you feel like, what's your opinion on, like, if a SaaS company isn't thinking about GTM being
Mm.
GTM efficient, are they just going to be left behind, left in the dust from
Mm.
all those that are really going, all in on this?
Well, so what's the idea between kind of efficiency and increasing carry capacity, et cetera, is I can do more. I have more space to invest in other go to market functions or make my team even larger and sell more. And so, I don't know that I necessarily think you don't do it so you don't survive, but I don't think you become the next unicorn without a focus on efficiency.
Yeah.
That being said, I've worked with companies that I remember going into them and they were massive. And I won't say the company, but it's a company everybody here knows and loves. And I remember talking with their head of IT, and he said, "We've grown in spite of our operations." And that's because they had a fantastic product that people wanted and bought, and it moved them along. So, on one front, is like, do I believe in this? Absolutely. Are there unicorns that just have an incredible product, an incredible product market fit, and they can run real terribly? Also, yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. And look, I want to
One other
kind of,
note, sorry, Alexander, one other thing I'm thinking through too is the idea of investing in ops, right? Whether it's like you get into the hype of go to market engineer or RevOps or whatever you're talking about, like the premise behind all this is that you're hiring internally, operationally, so that we can get the most out of your go to market team. And so, the idea isn't that I'm so focused internally and on go to market efficiency because I'm trying to build a machine because it's fun. I'm doing it so that I can give my sellers more time to sell. And so it's, I get asked a lot, what's the right ratio? I don't necessarily think there is like a, hey, you must hire one per 20 or anything like that, because it depends on the complexity of your sales cycle, your goals. I don't know, if you're implementing CPQ next year, I need a lot more headcount than if you're staying flat and just like streamlining. So that's a little bit about knowing your investment. But the idea is my operators are going to make my sellers and my marketers more effective and do more and therefore grow the company more.
makes sense. Makes sense. And I guess sort of as we sort of wrap up, it's a shame that it's at the end, but I imagine that most people are still listening to
They're
this.
so hooked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they are.
they
They're
never want to leave.
super hooked. You're coming back to SaaStock USA. You're
Yeah,
speaking SaaStock USA May 13th, 14th in
yeah,
Austin, Texas. Maybe, I mean, you can share, because like you've been to Austin, you've been to
yeah.
SaaStock. What are the things like people should be like looking for, interested in doing when they're in Austin? Doing when they're at SaaStock.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Austin's an amazing city. So if you haven't been, spend a few extra days. There's not a lot of cities in the US. You have it more in England and Ireland and in Europe, but in the US we don't have a lot of music cities.
Mhm.
Like in New York, you walk around, you don't hear people playing music outside. Austin's one of those cities. It just has like a ton of life. I have a soft spot. And if you are someone who likes thrifting, give some time to go thrifting in Austin. They have like incredible clothes and it's really fabulous. Obviously the weather, barbecue, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
At SaaStock itself, I mentioned it towards the beginning. I think the thing that you really cultivated and you should be very proud of is people have their guard down.
Hmm.
And it does feel a little bit like a reunion of sorts. I go there and like the people that I want to see are there. There's definitely like friendships that have been formed. And I think again, very open. You've got a poker night. You've got what's it called? Not a happy hour, but you have like a party, like
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, straight up
You got you got a
a
party in
night
Austin.
party.
You got a party in Austin.
Yeah, you have
We
to.
we don't worry about the consequences too much if people are hungover the next day,
No, they'll be
but
all
again,
right.
not everybody has to drink.
Yeah,
But it's a fun city, and I think we've always felt that the destination is
it's important.
important, and people want to go there and have fun. And for me, getting to know Austin over the last few years, like like I think everything that you said, I mean, it's just like such a great vibe, great weather,
100%.
great people, great
Yep.
food, music, comedy.
Yep.
Another thing that
Oh
you're sort of
yeah, I
interested
forgot
in,
comedy.
it's got it all. But I'm really looking forward to hanging again.
Yep.
I think that'll be our next opportunity
I love it.
in person at SaaStock USA. So
Yeah.
grateful that you're coming down and
Yeah.
speaking, and
Yep.
have introduced a few folks to come down. So it's going to be a blast, and hopefully we'll have more listeners there as well. And RevFest, so you
Yeah.
are doing your own. You're mad. You're going into
I
events
know.
as well.
What am I doing?
But maybe tell the audience a little bit
Yeah.
about RevFest, and if you're looking for more people to go. But like,
Totally.
what's it about?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, it's June 10th. Taking a little page out of your book, I'm doing it at House of Yes, which is it started out as a DIY circus. It's actually a nightclub, so like a very, very cool space. And we're doing free tattoos, and
Nice.
we have comedians doing morning tours of the neighborhood, because Bushwick, like I mentioned, is very, very cool. So again, trying to bring that life and doing it in an area of New York that I really love. And actually, if this is the podcast kind of piqued your interest, the whole theme of the conference is go-to-market efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
And we're putting practitioners from OpenAI and Intercom and Ironclad up on stage to really tell you how they're achieving that. And it's really geared towards RevOps and operational go-to-market leaders. And so if that's you, there's an application, revfest.gonimbly.com.
Amazing. Well, it's definitely not me, but I kind of want to go. And
You can still come. We'll let you in.
thank you. If I can, I will. What about maybe just finally at SaaStock? Will there be any This Week in SaaS type content being recorded or not?
That could be really fun. I need some drama. So
Yeah.
if you can spin up some drama at
We can make it
at
happen.
SaaStock, I
Well,
will.
do you know
I
what?
will.
There is going to be drama. I'll give it to you here.
Yeah.
I'm sure you already knew this. So there's drama between Automatic and WP Engine.
No, I don't know this.
Okay, well there is. I think. Look, I mean, I should know more about it, but effectively, WP Engine has built their whole business off of WordPress,
Yeah.
and apparently, I like Jason Cohen. They're not contributing back to the open source community, so Automatic or WordPress have shut them off. And there's a legal thing going on. So this isn't more This Week in SaaS stuff that you
Let's
should know
go.
about, Barbara.
Yeah.
You should know about
I
this.
know.
All right?
Yeah,
But
my
there's so
inner
much drama
Barbara.
in SaaS right now. It's like where to
No, hard to
focus.
keep up.
But anyway, so both Jason Cohen and Matt Mullenweg are going to be there, but on different days. But I don't know
Yeah.
what you can do with that. And then
Let's
also,
switch the schedule. Let's put them at the same time.
I know one interviewing the other.
Yeah.
But like we obviously have sort of like joked about this internally, but
Yeah.
and hopefully it won't. They're not listening. It won't put them off coming.
No, it'd be
But
great.
I think the other one, but it's probably a more obvious one because I think he likes a bit of drama. Adam Robinson, who's a great guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
loves a public fight.
Yeah.
He's been going at Larry Kim recently from Customers.ai, and because he's building a similar product, and
Yep.
both are speaking at the conference. But then after we
Amazing.
booked Larry, Adam went publicly to call out Larry, and they're having a bit of a battle. So there's
Ooh, that's a fun one.
SaaS
Yeah.
is just full of it.
I know. You know, my guiding light is I don't want any drama in my life. I live
Yeah,
a peaceful life, but I'll watch other people's.
exactly. Well, we can watch it live, at SaaStock, and be interesting. The speaker dinner and the seating
Yeah.
places there for
Ooh.
sure. We'll just have you in the middle of those four.
Please. Yeah, I'll have a microphone.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, Jen, I can't wait for Austin, seeing you there again. Thank you so much for being
Same.
a great guest. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to continuing watching This Week in SaaS as well. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you.